Hey everybody, welcome to Before College TV Live. I am with students from the University of Vermont. Hey panelists, how you doing? A wave, a hello? Can you see me, hear me? This
Doing
is
great,
great.
Harlan. Thank you.
This is exciting. And Lydia, I have to tell you, I was mentioning this before we went on. I just love your backdrop and your couch. And you have like the best area, and there's a Constitution over your shoulder. Is that an original?
There is. It's not an original to my knowledge, but my dad could have stolen it. I don't know.
Could have stolen it. That would be priceless. That would be a really exciting development one day if you did discover that. So we have a really amazing group of students here today, and I know that you're going to love getting to know them. As always, you are welcome to ask questions. Andy's watching the live feed on Facebook, and if you have questions later on, everybody here, let me ask you, if a high school student or anybody sees these interviews and they want to reach out to you, are you open to them asking you questions?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you will answer them?
Of course, to the best of my ability.
Yes, that is unbelievable. So we're going to include your social media that you've given us. So like if you're watching these, like these people really want to help you. Like that's the thing. Like you're the real deal. Like Sam, why do you like helping people so much?
I guess it gives a sense of self-satisfaction along with just knowing that someone else is doing better because of something that I did.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Hunter, what about you? Why do you like helping so much?
I think it has a lot of intrinsic value to me, and I think that helping others is definitely shows a reflection on my life and how much I've helped others. So it's really nice for me to help try and elevate other people.
Yeah, and you guys, and Jake, you as well?
I mean, we were in the same position as these high school kids at one point or another. We know how stressed they are. We know how much it's like, how big of a decision this is for them. So like being able to help any way that we can is definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, it's great that you're here. Now, do you all know each other? Jake and Hunter and Sam and Lydia, do you have a history?
We do, yeah.
So tell me a little bit. Lydia, you're shaking your head no. Lydia, who do you know in this panel?
I'm pretty good friends with Sam. We met freshman year.
Oh, that's nice.
I've been in classes with Hunter. And I don't really know Jake that well, but we have mutual friends, so.
Oh, this is great. So Sam or Hunter, which of you would say you're closer to Jake? Which one of you is closer to Jake?
I think it's Sam.
Sam? So,
Yeah.
So Jake, with your permission, I would like Sam to describe you so that Lydia can get an idea of who you are to see if she wants to get to know you better. Are you cool with that?
Sam, 3 words or less.
Now, can Sam be really honest,
I don't think I can do that. Jake is very much his own person, and getting along with him is very easy. He's a very laid-back person, but at the same time, he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing.
Do you know a lot of intelligent people?
I'd say I know a few. Yeah.
Jake, I didn't mean anything by that. But it's what's the word I'm looking for? As I talk about intelligence, I can't come up. It's context. That's the word I'm looking for. It's context. But clearly, Jake, you seem to be an incredibly well-liked person. And just before this conversation, there was some nice back and forth. Lydia, can you describe yourself? I know there's no one, or actually, Sam knows you too. Should we have Sam describe you too?
Sure.
Sam,
Go for it.
Let's hear about Lydia.
Lydia just strikes me as another intelligent, driven person who knows what she wants to accomplish and definitely puts forward the effort to make it happen.
Yes, do you feel comfortable with that, Lydia? Would you like to add anything else?
Nope, that sums me up.
Right, that's perfect. Wow, Sam, you could be doing this. I think together we could do these panel discussions.
Maybe.
You could be the guy who describes everything. So Lydia, you're from South Burlington, Vermont. You went to South Burlington High School. Is that a big school or a small school?
Pretty small school.
What was your graduating class?
250.
Okay, so a smaller school, and you are a neuroscience and French minor. That's right. So has neuroscience kicked your ass? Is that a hard major?
People think it's a harder major than it is, I think. when I say I'm a neuroscience major, everyone's like, "Oh, that's crazy," but I don't think it's too bad so far, at least. We're only
maybe
sophomore.
you're just incredibly intelligent, and all
Um,
of you are just so smart. Where because I was asking Sam, because Sam, you're also a neuroscience major,
Mhm.
and you're a minor in English. And is this your first major, or have you had multiple majors, Sam?
I've always been neuroscience.
So you made it through. Did you have to take the chemistry classes, and like those weed out courses?
Yeah. They were, I would say they were difficult, but they were manageable as long as you put the effort into it. I saw a lot of people kind of falter in those classes if they had, just kind of coasted throughout high school and never really learned good studying techniques.
Yeah, Hunter, you took those as well? You're also a neuroscience major.
Yeah, so Sam and I, we both kind of suffered through that Gen Chem course, those weed out courses together. And I would totally agree with that too. It can be a really hard course, but if you're willing to put in the effort and you're willing to talk to your professors, they're always going to make the time and try and do their best to help you because they want to see you succeed as well.
Yeah,
So it's just all about how much work you're willing to put into each one of those courses.
yeah. And Jake, tell me about you. Did you take any of those classes as well?
Yep, that's kind of the nice thing about environmental science. Is you have to take all the sciences. You're taking orgo, chem, bio, environmental science, soil science, geography, geology, etc.
Is that brutal? Was it easy for you?
I kind of picked that on purpose because I like kind of having the breadth of knowledge, and also kind of it really is just like a review from high school, but like a little more in depth. So it does make
Yeah.
it easier on some fronts.
You guys make it look so easy. Did any of you fail any of your earlier quizzes last year or tests? Was there ever a moment like, wow, I'm not as smart as I think I am?
Yeah, I'll admit to that. Absolutely. I got my first Gen Chem 2 exam back and I got a D on it. I was,
D.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is a big wake up moment for me. This is terrible. It was the first D I'd ever gotten in my like academic career and it was definitely jarring.
So when you get that D, do you tell your parents? Do you hide? Do you talk to your teacher? Do you
No,
engage in?
my parents and I have a really good relationship and they're really open about it. And so I told them and I told them I was kind of struggling with the course. And I went in and talked to the professor. And of course he was super nice and he was like, yeah, I totally understand this can be a hard course for some students. I can see that you definitely have potential to do well in this class if you're willing to put the work in and make the effort. And so that was really helpful. And coming from that low point of getting a D on that exam, definitely hearing that from the professor and knowing that he had faith in me definitely helped me and made it feel as though I had a chance.
That's nice. I mean, you're an active guy. You're president of the Inter-Residence Association. You're also a member of the UVM snowboard team. So, Hunter,
Yes.
that's a very interesting thing. People like skiing and snowboarding, right? That's why people go to UVM.
I would like to think so. It's definitely one of the reasons I chose UVM for sure.
Yeah. So, Jake and Sam and Lydia, do any of you?
Oh,
I think I can't hear you. Did you cut out?
Yeah, I think you froze, Harlan.
well,
If we're still
Well, I mean,
live,
I guess we can kind of continue this conversation a
Yeah.
little bit.
if we're still live, then yeah, we
Yeah.
see.
So, I mean, Sam, Jake, you guys, Lydia, you guys all ski, right?
yeah.
Hey, I
he's
lost
back.
you
I
guys.
snowboard.
Are you guys
Yeah.
back? You
We're
were always here. You were always here.
We were here, yeah.
You
yeah.
just kept going as if like I didn't even matter that I wasn't.
We're still live. We had to kind of keep it going.
Did you hear me say oh? Did you hear me swear?
No.
Oh, that's because I got knocked out. This is great. So I didn't. This is perfect, and you're still streaming live on Facebook. Hey, so did you guys? Let's see if we're back here. Yeah, we're back. Hey, so tell me, answer that question again because I am really curious about the outdoor sports piece because I think when students are looking at colleges, looking at a school where you can do things all year long, where you're active and engaged. So tell me a little bit more about that, and you guys can all have the same conversation you just had a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of start. I know a lot, I come from a very active town. And so going to a college that was also equally as active and outdoorsy was definitely something that was a priority for me. And UVM does a great job of making sure that students get out and that they have the ability, even if they don't know certain skills. I mean, I know there's things like ice climbing. I've never ice climbed before, but I have tons of friends who do it. And it's definitely really important, and definitely helps, like sometimes with the long winters and the cold temperatures, to get outside and have everyone be equally as outdoorsy makes a big difference.
That sounds awesome. Jake, do you do that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been skiing since I was like 3 years old. I always went up to Vermont every year. That's kind of why I was like chose for UVM, just because I'm familiar with the terrain. But it really being able to go off campus and like not be in your little like hub of academia is awesome. Like it just makes being at college so much better. And I'm a tour guide for UVM, and I've seen so many kids come through like not realizing that like being able to get off campus, go hiking, go skiing, go swimming downtown, like at Lake Champlain, like having all that access, especially with our clubs that also allow the access, like they don't even realize that like having that is something that they need until they go to see other colleges and they're like, oh wow, like, okay, so I can stay on campus and study and party and like, that's it. Or I could also be able to get off campus like every single weekend and like do all these amazing things. It's really a way to like, I don't know, I've met some of my best friends just like going on random hikes with people.
Yeah. When you go on these trips, is skiing, is it 10 miles away? Is it 30 miles away? How do students get to do these activities?
Well, for skiing wise, I think there's like 5 or 6 mountains that are within an hour of UVM. And so when you're a freshman, you can't have a car, but we do have our skiing snowboard club has free busing every weekend to all of the mountains, which is really nice. And then if you know upperclassmen, people tend to just carpool.
Nice. So, and Sam, you've also done a lot of outdoor activities.
Yeah, I've been a big skier most of my life. And, there are a bunch of student pass deals for all these mountains that are close to Burlington, which is where UVM is, which is really nice. But it's not only just, downhill skiing. I know a ton of people who, cross country or Nordic ski, and hiking is obviously huge when there's snow and when it's pretty nice out like today.
Yeah. And yeah, you're from New Hampshire, and Jake, you're from New Jersey, and Hunter, you're from Aspen. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like, why wouldn't you just stay in Colorado? Like
You
why
know,
go to UVM?
I love Colorado, and Colorado will always be my home and have a really, really dear and close place in my heart. But I mean, I went to a small high school. My graduating class was 140 kids. My total high school was 500 kids, maybe less. And the majority of kids would go to colleges, especially University of Colorado Boulder.
Right.
And it's a great school, and it offers a lot of really fun activities, but I wanted a chance to meet new people, to experience something I've never done before, to go to the East Coast, to live out there, and to meet a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, which I might have not gotten the chance to do at Boulder, because I knew that if I went to a college in Colorado, that I would probably stay with the same group of kids that I had been with in high school and middle school and
Right.
for the majority of my life.
So when you came here, when you arrived at UVM, Hunter, did you have any friends last year?
No.
You had no
I
friends.
walked on campus not knowing really a single person. I had some friends who were kind of upper class seniors who were graduating that year, who I had met earlier during my kind of admitted student visit days, but that was really about it. So I knew no one my age coming into UVM.
So Jake, did you know anyone?
No, I'm the first person to I'm from my town for the past like 4 or 5 years, really.
Wow, that's remarkable. And now you're a tour guide, which is fascinating. And then Sam, did you know people?
Yeah, so coming up to UVM, there were 2 other people that I went to high school with that also went, but I didn't really know them too well. I did actually end up, talking and hanging out with them and becoming friends with them ever since going to UVM, which is kind of interesting because I never really talked to them beforehand.
So this was leading up to you, Lydia. I didn't forget about you, so don't think I did. You are from the area. Not too far away, right? Like you're from South Burlington.
Right.
So how far from campus is your home?
I'm like less than 10 minutes away from UVM. I actually drove past it today.
How'd it look?
Empty.
Isn't that weird?
Very empty.
I know. So going to UVM and being in state, because I think that Hunter, what you were talking about of you know, going to a large state school, you're more likely to stay in your comfort zone. Lydia, did you live on campus? Did you commute? How did you balance knowing people and creating this new life for yourself?
Yeah, that was kind of an issue for me. I really didn't want to go to UVM for that reason. I didn't want to see all the same faces that I did in high school. But I managed to kind of keep those friends, distance myself from other friends if we didn't really connect anymore, and make new ones. So it worked out, even though it wasn't something that I wanted to do. It wasn't my first choice.
So let's jump on that. So it wasn't your first choice. So what was your first choice, and how did you end up at this amazing school?
Right. My first choice was Northeastern, actually.
So good.
Because I really like the Boston
Uh-huh.
area, and I thought I wanted to live in a city. I'm really glad I didn't do that now, because I wouldn't have been able to do all the outdoor stuff that UVM is known for.
You do outdoor
But
stuff too.
Hmm?
You love the outdoors. You've learned. You're like that person Jake was talking about who didn't even know how much you needed the outdoors.
yeah, I kind of took it for granted in high school, just because, like, same with like snowboarding. I didn't really snowboard too much in high school. I knew that the mountains would always be there, and like I didn't really do it that much. I didn't have friends, close friends that also snowboarded, so I didn't really do it that much in high school. And then once I got to college, I realized this is what a lot of people come to UVM to do. So I thought I would get back into it, and I actually really started to enjoy it.
Nice. Are you on the snowboard club, or are you part of any activity related to snow?
I'm part of the ski and snowboard club, but basically everybody is at UVM.
Right. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
Nice. That's great. And then did you live on campus your first year?
Mhm.
So you did, and you were like 10 minutes from home living on campus. Is that weird? Easy?
It wasn't weird. I didn't really, my dad works, he's a professor at UVM, so I would see him maybe once every 2 weeks. But I really didn't go home first year.
Yeah. Were you avoiding him? Doesn't seem like a lot.
A little bit.
Because clearly you're walking the other way if it's once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Was when it comes to the factor, and you know, what was the deciding?
Oh,
Oh, is he gone
I
again?
think I can guess what
I think
he
he's
was,
gone
right?
again.
Yeah.
deciding factor again.
Oh man.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The deciding factor was, it was all about financial aid. Northeastern didn't give me any money, really. So I decided to come here to save the money.
So my thing, for some reason my thing went out again. So just to summarize this, because I want to make sure I have a clean copy. So just tell me one more time what happened.
I decided to go to UVM because I didn't have to pay that much money compared
Right.
to Northeastern. Yeah.
Right. They didn't
That's
give you as much money. Right. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Northeastern's expensive. Like, you know, the price difference. What's the price difference between the two?
just tuition without any scholarships.
Yeah. It's like probably
It's probably $20,000.
a year, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's $80,000. Right. That's great. That's like a huge difference. When it comes to the cost, when it comes to paying for college, you guys, do any of you have jobs currently? And has money been an issue? So Jake, I see you nodding. So tell me a little bit about how you manage money, and if money is an issue for other students, how could they manage that?
Money is definitely an issue when it comes to like paying for personal things. Like I've been fortunate enough that my grandparents pay for my college tuition. But anything past that, when it comes to housing, food, books, like anything like that is on me. And so
That's
that
a lot of money. That's like 10 grand
Yep.
at least.
Yep. So I mean, I have my tour guide position, obviously. And I've just tried to pick up like internships every single semester just to try and make like some type of money somewhere while also getting like credit for it.
Is it hard to get jobs and to get paid on campus?
It's hard to get jobs on campus because the only students that get jobs on campus are work study students.
Okay.
And you only qualify for work study based off of your parents' income, which like isn't super fair because my parents, yes, they make like a decent amount of money, but they're not paying. like they're not shouldering that burden.
Right.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense because like I can't qualify for work study, but it's based off of their income, not mine. I don't know.
Gotcha.
So it's
Gotcha.
hard for students whose parents like make like enough money to get any type of job on campus. And if you want to get one off campus, it's sometimes hard to balance that with like work, like academics.
Do any of you have scholarships? You do. So you got some scholarships. So people are always interested in knowing, like, how did you get this money? So Sam, tell me a little bit about some of the money you got and how other people can get it. Not your money, but other money.
I think that the scholarships that I got from UVM, I just kind of got as I got into the school, which just reflected on my tuition and room and board bill. And then, you know, from my hometown during our senior year, towards the end, we have, you know, local scholarships that we can apply for. And I got a couple of those. So that just adds a couple of grand to the pot.
So specifically, what did you get and how did you get those? Because I think a lot of people don't understand how to get those in the process.
The local scholarships?
Yeah.
It was actually done through my high school where, you know, local companies, vendors, and nonprofits all sent out applications through this almost like a Common App type thing. And you just applied for what you think applied to you and you got it if you did.
How long did it take you to apply?
It took me, there were a lot of supplemental essays. So that probably took, I think I repurposed a lot of my college essays in some way or another.
Sure. Why not?
So I think it took a couple hours at most.
Right. And how much did you get?
I think I got like $4 or $5 grand.
So that's about $2,000. It took you 2 hours. So about $1,000 an hour, something like that. That's a good paycheck.
Not bad for the amount of work.
Right, that's not bad. And then you got merit aid. Is that what you were referring to earlier?
Yeah.
You applied. So you got money just because you had good grades.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just because he's smart.
He's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you what did you with your tests? That colleges are going test optional. I think UVM might be a test optional school as well. I'd have to double check that. But when it came, Sam, when it comes to getting into UVM, was it hard for you, or was it pretty easy?
I mean, I got in just regular decision. I don't know if they were knowing whether to accept me or not. But if people are interested in my scores, I took the SAT. And I got a 1400. I got 750 in math, and then 650 in English. So
1400 out of what?
1600.
Do you feel like you could have done better?
Yeah, I could have done about 200 points better.
It's a ridiculous question. How many times did you take your SAT?
Just once. I felt like it wasn't worth it. It was like 97th.
Yeah. Right. Well, what are you gonna do? That's great. So that's how you got. Did you take a PSAT?
Yeah, I think we have to. My high school, I think, forced us to do that our sophomore year of high school.
Because you can get merit aid from that, or
I didn't know that.
I thought you can get money.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So you might have even been able to get more money. Because yeah, people give you merit aid. Hey Jake, how did you get some money, some scholarship money?
Same as Sam. For my high school had like local scholarships that we applied for that I got. I think $2,500.
And they just did that. Was that like just through the college career center or counseling center?
Yeah, it was just through our counseling center. Like they're weirdly specific though. Like some of them were for like only female soccer players who were graduating, or like mine was like, I don't know, like sons of like lawyers or something. It was like some weird, like, I don't know, like very niche thing that I wasn't like allowed to apply for. And then I got merit-based aid just from applying to UVM.
So like how much, is it like for merit-based aid, you get like $10,000, $20,000, like, because you're out of state, so everything's a little more expensive.
Yeah, and UVM does not have a lot of money to give students in the first place. I got the highest, I think, amount that they award. It's the presidential scholarship, so I think I get $18,000 a year.
Okay. So that's great. And and you got it. Did you have to apply special for that? Like check a, no? So I know that there's some schools that make you do that, but at UVM, you just apply. And if you have the grades, then you can qualify. Jake, was UVM your first choice? And if not, what was your first choice?
My first, I don't know. No, UVM wasn't my first choice. It was definitely, I was one of those kids that was kind of snobby in high school, and I don't know. I considered UVM like a safety school. Um, I really wanted to go to UPenn or Michigan, or I had a lot of other ones, but yeah, no.
So the stuff you're sharing is near and dear to me because I'm like the king of rejection. And I don't know if you got rejected or not, or what the circumstance were. But it's really interesting to hear. For those students who are going through that process, I'd love to know, like, what was your dream school and did you get in, didn't you get in? Because clearly, and let's just like preface this by, I mean, you're a tour guide, you are really actively involved in outdoor activities. You're also part of the Sunrise Movement. What's the Sunrise Movement?
It's just like a local youth activist movement for like climate change. It's like a national one, but we have a hub within Burlington.
Nice. So, I mean, like you seem like you're really happy and that you found your people and you found your place. So it led you here, but I'm curious to hear where you thought you would be and how that impacted you before you arrived here.
I had some like misconstrued idea of what my life was supposed to be. I thought I was going to go to UPenn. I thought I was going to be pre-med, become a doctor, like all this stuff. I don't know. And then I got waitlisted at UPenn, and I got into UVM, and I got a lot of money, and I realized I really I don't want to pay for anything, any type of Ivy League, like anything. Like that's just way too much money. And my tour guide that I had when I came to UVM made a really good point that academics are important. Yes, your major, it's not really that important, but the people who you meet and like the community that you have are the most important thing. And I kind of realized like, I feel like I'm going to find my people at UVM. Like I didn't see myself fitting in any of the other colleges, because I just realized like, I don't want to stress myself out 24/7. Like I want people who are going to be able to be academically focused and also want to go on a hike on their off time.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of realized that over the process of the college application.
Yeah. And Sam, was this your first choice?
So the schools I chose between was really just this and Boston University. But here we are.
And what was the deciding factor for you?
Financial aid was a big thing, and I was kind of like Lydia, where I thought living in the city would be great, and I obviously do want to experience that at some point in my life, but I also think I took for granted the kind of natural beauty that surrounds myself here in New Hampshire and also up in Vermont. And it felt more homey to me.
Yeah.
BU didn't really have much of a campus. It had buildings, but UVM was definitely felt more like the collegiate Northeastern college experience.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because, when I'm just talking to you, I'm going to learn more about you, Hunter, and learn more about you, Lydia, as well. But, especially Sam, just hearing, like you got a 1400 on your SAT, and Jake, I don't know what you got, and I'm sure you did exceptionally well, and you're welcome to share that. But I don't think it matters as much, because that part where you're like, I didn't need the Ivy League degree, that wasn't as important for you, and you guys are doing amazing things. Like you're at the top of, in terms of like, influence and where you're going and the experiences you're having. And I think it's really a great testament for those who are going through this process to see that there are many paths. So thanks just for being so honest about that, and also being open for other people who have those questions. Because I'm sure, Jake, it sounds like you were set, dude, and you were so not where you thought you'd be.
Nope.
Right. and
I've loved every second of it.
Right. You seem pretty happy. You're good at faking it, but I believe it. For sure. And then Hunter, so was UVM your first choice? And if not, let me know.
I had a really interesting college experience and college application experience. Throughout most of my high school career, I was competing for snowboarding, both internationally and nationally. So I was absent for 2 or 3 months out of the school year. So I didn't really have a whole lot of time on my hands to put all of that effort into college applications and that kind of stuff. And for me, I was really able to narrow down my college selection list really quickly because I wanted a very specific list of things that the college would offer me. So I wanted great academics. I wanted to be somewhere that was outdoorsy. I didn't want to be in a tiny liberal arts school, so I wanted something that was kind of medium. And so that really narrowed it down between kind of UVM and Boulder. Like I said before, I didn't really want to go to Boulder because I didn't want to be a part of the same high school group. And so that kind of left UVM. And so I applied early action, got in December 14th, and that was that. I deferred March 10th.
Oh, nice. You deferred for a year to compete?
I deferred for a year.
So you're competing in snowboard competitions?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. I don't know a lot about that. Is that, I mean, are you, let's see, I can never ask you how good you are. Sam, you're pretty tight with Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's this guy?
Hunter's by far the best snowboarder or just snowboarder or skier that I've ever seen in my life.
I am a
He
terrible
will do these
skier.
crazy tricks off of
Really?
these, ramps and just absolutely bomb down really steep trails or just glades on a snowboard, which is crazy.
Wow. So fearless, right?
Yeah, he's sponsored.
Wow. I would
Nice.
not go that far to say that at all. I am definitely not fearless.
You know what, dude? This is why I didn't talk to you about it, because, it's like the people who are exceptional, they never are like, yeah, I'm fearless, I'm awesome, I kick ass.
No, but like that's the truth. I mean,
Right.
my dedication was definitely, it was a love-hate relationship throughout all of my competition career.
Right.
I broke upwards of 20 bones and things like that, and it was definitely really tough. And there were times that I really, really wanted to quit and just leave it all behind me, and things where I just thought it just absolutely wasn't worth it.
Wow.
For sure. So.
Well, I apologize for minimizing the fear part, because
Oh, not your fault at all.
but I think there's something to be said, about being scared, because when I see people doing these tricks, I feel like you're so used to it. But tell me, when were you scared and how do you work through the fear?
A lot of my fear came from learning new tricks, doing new things that I'd never done before, kind of really stepping outside of my comfort zone. And it was this really visceral fear, these constant knots in my stomach and things that it shakes me kind of to my core. And there are still I'll still have dreams of snowboarding and things like that, and injuries that have gone wrong that wake me up at night for sure. But I learned that working through it, and it ended up being my college essay, but it was this one trick in the half pipe, which was kind of my forte at the time. I spent upwards of a month trying to learn it, constantly falling. And it was as much as I hated the fear and the pain and the idea of thinking, oh, what if this goes terribly wrong? The idea of it going right was so much more powerful than the idea of it going wrong, that it just kept pushing me onwards. And it did for years. And it was also the people that I surrounded myself with, because they were always in the same situation, and we were always really together, and knowing that we were in the same place and pushing each other and realizing that fear is a part of it, but you can move beyond it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many lessons that you can draw from by using your sports and snowboarding and
Absolutely.
I mean, it's amazing. And I don't want to go too deep. I could probably even find a time to just dig deeper if people are interested in snowboarding and getting sponsored. I don't know if any of you are also sponsored or are at a professional level, so I don't want to exclude you at all. But with that, Hunter, were you pursued by individuals? Were you, did you get scholarships for your snowboarding? So tell me a little bit more about how you
So, I mean, a lot of it was competition based and how well you did and all that kind of stuff. For me, though, it hit a certain point that I put myself out there. I remember this one company specifically, and I'm really good friends with all of them now. And it's been a great relationship, and I'm still sponsored by them, despite my fact that I'm no longer competing. But the company's name is Strafe Outerwear. And I remember I basically sent them an email with my snowboarding resume attached to it.
Uh-huh.
and didn't really hear anything back from them. And by some crazy coincidence, I got onto the gondola with the guy who was the worldwide representative for Strafe Outerwear, and we just started having a conversation. He was like, "Oh, you're the kid who sent in the application." I was like, "Yeah." He said, "All right, well, come ride with us for the day, and we'll see how you do." And I rode with him for the day, and at the end of the day, he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, man, I was really impressed with all of your abilities and what you've done and the way that you've pursued your snowboarding, and so come by the headquarters and we'll get you all stocked up." And it was a huge moment for me because that was my first real big sponsorship.
That's amazing. So you reached out to these people, they rejected you, right?
Yeah, so I didn't really hear anything back. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I
Ghosted
was
you,
this kind of little known lesser kid who just took a
right?
chance.
So then you reached out, you got rejected. This is the fearless part. And I don't know how good you guys are with rejection, but like, you know, this I think is the most important thing, that you reached out, you gave them permission to reject you. They didn't even acknowledge you, and then all of a sudden you bump into the person who recognized you.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful story.
it really
And
was. It was a huge moment for me, absolutely. And
yeah,
I think that rejection can be a really powerful driver if you move past the fact that, oh, this is a terrible option. But I mean, I hate to sound corny, but there is always going to be a silver lining to it. I mean, as both Jake and Sam can attest, and Lydia can attest to with their college applications.
yeah, it's interesting. Y'all had different things in mind, and you ended up here together and found each other and are living just an extraordinary life, which is incredibly exciting. Um, I want to ask you, Lydia, I know that you're also involved with the Minority Association of Pre-Medical Students. MAPS is the acronym, right? So tell me a little bit about that. What drew you to being part of MAPS, and how has that impacted your life at UVM?
Um, so MAPS, I started going to meetings maybe just last fall, sophomore year fall. Um, and my dad had one of his students was actually one of the leaders of MAPS. So there was a connection there. Um, I think I heard about it from one of my dad's coworkers, and I thought I'm pre-med, so I thought that was a good idea to go to, a kind of like niche little
Yeah.
club instead of the entire pre-medical club. And we don't really have meetings that often because one of their kind of things is that we're all so busy that it's kind of hard for us to have meetings all the time. Like, so we would have meetings maybe once a month and have different like panels or just discussions about application, like medical school applications and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
Are there a lot of minority students at UVM, or is it a smaller community?
it's a very small community.
Yeah. So for students who don't look like everybody else or don't come from the place that most people come from, what advice would you offer to them when it comes to their college decision making?
Yeah, this was kind of another reason why I didn't really want to go to UVM. I've lived in Vermont for most of my life, so I'm kind of used to being surrounded by people that aren't like me. But I think for people that come from big cities, I know there are a lot of people that come from New York or Philadelphia that don't seem to like UVM, but maybe they came here for like financial reasons. I think getting involved with, there are a lot of clubs. Mosaic Center for Students of Color is the biggest like minority club at UVM, and they do a lot of events and try and get everybody involved, not just minority students. Anyone is allowed to go to most of the meetings. And then there are smaller, they call them like circles, once a week, where just minority students will come meet in this. They have a specific location for the Mosaic Center, and have small meetings about different topics. They'll watch films.
So you can find your community if you are a minority student. It's possible to find that. I mean, do you feel connected? Do you feel like it's you know you can be yourself?
I think so. Vermont is a very liberal state. It's not that hard to like express yourself and not get any like sort of backlash from it.
Right.
I think it's just hard not having representation in Vermont, but you can definitely find that in the Mosaic Center and other clubs.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, thanks for pointing some of those places out, because I think, while people are going through that process, to have someone they can reach out to ask those questions. I love that you can share some of that. Okay. I've got to like start to wrap things up, which is impossible for me. But there are a couple things I have to cover real quickly. I want to know what a typical Friday night, not during coronavirus season, is like. And whoever wants to walk me through, I know Jake, you're involved with Greek life. How many of you are involved with Greek life by show of hands? Okay, just Jake. So is Greek life a big part of life at UVM or a smaller part?
We like to say it's 8%. So if you really want to get involved, you can. And if you don't want it to impact your social life at all, it really doesn't have to. And honestly, from my experience, that has seemed pretty accurate. In terms of social life, in terms of just like getting involved in general, like you don't need to be a part of frat sorority culture to be able to go out and have fun, but you also can, and like it's fine.
Right. So you have that option. And then an 8%, 8% can be a lot if you're in the middle of the community, or it can also be something that's very different. I know, Hunter, you're really involved with residential life, with Res Life. I want to make sure I get the name right. So it's IRA. So
Yes.
the Inter Residence Association. And I
Yes.
imagine that you probably hang out with people on the weekend, or that impacts your life in some way, being so involved with Res Life. Can you let people know a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of as the president of the Inter-Residence Association at UVM, kind of our job is to make sure that all kids on campus feel included. And so what kind of our job is to put on these kind of various events. We do something called Wings Fest, which is where we buy like $3,000 worth of wings and give them out to anyone who wants them. I know that's kind of been a big thing with both Sam and Jake. They constantly ask me, when's Wings Fest? When's Wing Fest?
When is Wing Fest typically?
We usually do it once a semester. So we were going to do it right when we got back from spring break, but obviously that didn't happen thanks to coronavirus.
Right.
And then we did it kind of in the fall, right before kind of finals, midterms kind of time. And our job is just really make sure that we put on these events, that they're inclusive to everyone on campus. So regardless of what background you're from, where you live on campus, how many friends you have, anyone can come to these events. Anyone can get food, hang out, meet new people. And so that's kind of our job. And then we work with a lot of the RAs and things like that to make sure that everyone feels included at the residence halls.
So I have a good idea, and I think Jake and Sam may support this, but since you couldn't do Wing Fest when everybody got back from spring break, is there the possibility of doing 2 in 2020?
I mean, granted, our budget does roll over, so I assume there will definitely be room in the budget to do 2.
I think
that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, well, I would definitely support that. I know that these guys would as well.
What about Pie Fest?
I'm sure we can do Pie Fest too. Pie Fest was another idea that was kind of the brainchild of Sam and myself. And it was kind of a past IRA event that we were going to bring back, which was the same as Wings Fest, but to do it with pies or donuts.
Right. I think these are all great ideas. I think we could talk about the different food fests for hours.
Absolutely. We can go into every type of food. Yeah.
The thing that's cool, Hunter, is you guys talk about this, but then like you have a budget to actually make it happen,
Absolutely. Yeah. No, right. We do there's a lot of hands-on work with it. And I'm sure, as Sam and Jake can attest to with SGA, it's the exact same thing. And it's really cool to see that UVM's putting these kind of jobs within student hands and trusting them to do a good job with it. And it's an empowering experience to have.
Yeah, that's cool. And Sam, so tell me, a Saturday night, man, take me to a typical Saturday night in your life.
Well, Saturday nights can, be a lot of things, whether it's recuperating from a good day skiing or hiking. But, I think a lot of people aren't really obliged to fill in their niches or just have a certain group of friends, like a clique. I think I know a ton of people who just kind of overlap into different friend groups. So, there's always something going on either with one of your friends or your friend's friends or your friend's friend's friend. So, finding something to do if you want to do that is totally fine, but you also won't be looked down upon if you just want to stay in and watch a movie.
People party a lot, right? Like UVM's known as a very social, exciting school. Am I wrong?
I think it had more of that reputation 30 or so years ago. It's honestly something that I don't see. I'm from New Hampshire. I have friends that go to UNH, and it seems like a much bigger party school than UVM. I think a lot of that has to do with, to be quite honest, the reputation for people who smoke pot. But again, I don't feel like the different rankings on like the Princeton Review really reflects what it is at UVM. And I think it's a little not if I were to say that UVM is a great, huge party school, I think that would be disingenuous.
Right. And I didn't mean to misrepresent UVM.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Just in terms of, I think it seems like a fun place. You go snowboarding during the day, you hang out, and then at night people do whatever. And if you aren't somebody who drinks or wants to partake in other types of activities, are people pretty cool with that? Do you feel like there's pressure to do that? Like, Jake, I see you nodding. Tell me how that works there, man.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like the kids that you're friends with that like don't want to drink, don't want to smoke, anything like that. It's like, oh, like you're like, wow, like good for them. Like I could never, but like good for them. Like they're saints right there. And it's almost like this like backwards thinking of like, you know what, like good for them for like living their own life. Like we're not going to judge them because it doesn't affect us at all. Like they're still our friends.
Right. So it doesn't matter what people do. You don't really care.
No, I have a bunch of friends who prefer to not do anything like that. And I mean, like there are like certain events that are held like every Friday, Saturday night, like through IRA, I think, like that are substance free. But yeah, I mean, you could, I know a bunch of people who will go out at night with their friends and just not drink.
Right. And nobody cares one way or another.
No, if anything, you have a responsible friend with you.
Yeah. That's definitely a perk. So when it comes to, we're gonna wrap this up. When it comes to your most meaningful experience, something that gives you a great sense of joy, pride, something that maybe you didn't expect to experience up to this point in your college career, a place where you really found deep connection and meaningful relationships. If you could just real quickly go in a quick little circle, and I'll start with Lydia, of that place where you found that meaning and that experience. What comes to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind is where I met most of my friends. Freshman year in the fall, we all kind of joined the same intramural soccer team through a mutual friend, and intramural like sports became like a big part of what I did every season. So I think that's the first thing that popped into my head. There's probably other things, but yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
not just soccer. We do like volleyball. Trench ball is something I think that UVM made up. I don't know.
And anybody can get involved. You just show up or sign up?
You just sign up before the season starts and join a team. You don't have to have a team beforehand. You can just be a nomad, join any team.
What if you're terrible?
Then you don't play. No, I'm just kidding. No, anyone can play. It's intramural. It's like the lowest of the low.
Right. So be terrible and still play, or at least watch until they need someone, and then you'll get better.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, I can attest to that. I'm a terrible soccer player, and I played intramural soccer, and I still got a ton of time on the field and had a great time.
Right. That's awesome. So Sam, what comes to mind in terms of meaningful experience?
Joining SGA, which is our Student Government Association, getting elected to that my first year really made me a bunch of friends and a lot of connections. Of course, a lot of people on SGA act very professionally around me, but at the same time, I feel like I have both professional and individual relationships with almost everyone on the body, which is about 40 or so people. It's how I met Jake. and a ton of my other friends who I talk to daily.
Yeah, that's great. Was it hard to get elected?
I think that there were 5 slots available for freshmen or something, or there were more than that, but there were 5 people running, so everyone got elected.
Nice. That's beautiful. I love it. Jake, what about you?
Gonna kind of go off of Sam. So through SGA, I got elected to be like the student representative for my college's dean search, because we've been without a dean for the past like 2 years. And it was super interesting to like see that side of it, because I got to get really close with all of the professors and like upper administration people within my college. And I got to like I basically got to like pick my new dean, which was like awesome, because I got to like do the whole interview process. Like they paid for me to have like this like 4-star quality dinner at like the Marriott hotels while we were interviewing them. Like it was such a good experience. And it was cool because it was like, because we're gonna have to go into the workforce eventually, like seeing the other side of it and like how much actually goes into it, and like how much like a employer can just like see your resume and be like, nope, not even gonna be worth my time.
Right. And keep in mind, like you just finished your 2nd year in college. So this was this year or the year before?
It was this year.
Wow. That's an awesome experience. Hunter, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go off of Jake. As the IRA president, UVM does something really cool, and we have a student or 2 students on the board of trustees, which can kind of weigh in and give the student's opinion. And so I got to work with kind of all the different heads, from graduate student senate to head of the fraternity and sorority life, and kind of interact with all of these different people that I would never get a chance to meet normally. And we all kind of worked together to elect this new student trustee, which was a really, really empowering experience. I mean, especially for me, I was by far the youngest person in the room by at least 2 or 3 years. So it was really cool, and everyone was super excited and really outgoing.
Yeah, those are great experiences. If anyone's watching this who wants to learn more about any of these things, and I try to just kind of touch on these because you guys are really, you're so multidimensional, and there's so many fascinating parts to each of you. And if anybody identifies with any of those parts, reaching out, I think, is really important. My very last question, I promise this is the very last question, is if you could go back in time and give freshman high school you some advice, thinking about the thing that you worried about most, that you really didn't need to worry about when it came to college and life in high school, what's something that you were really concerned about, really spent a lot of time and energy thinking about, that ends up to have been something that you didn't need to worry about? Anybody?
I can go first. I think the biggest thing, other than the typical like making friends, even in high school, I was kind of intimidated by joining clubs and like sports that I wasn't actually, like I hadn't been doing for like 10 years. So in college, I really tried to like get out of my comfort zone, go to like interest meetings for different clubs that I was interested in, but didn't really have any background in. And I think that was important for me to do even by myself. I didn't have to go with any friends or anybody. And I think that's, if I knew that freshman year, it would have been beneficial to me. I could have joined any like more clubs that I was actually interested in, and maybe been a leader for some of them. But yeah.
That's great. Thanks.
I guess I'll go next. I was obsessed with my social status in high school. I always wanted to be part of the popular group. And so I kind of like, I tried to change and adapt myself to be like that person that group wanted to see. And it took me forever to figure out that it was way better for me to just focus on myself and be the best person that I could be. And then that as a result, people would end up coming to me and wanting to be my friend as a result of me having to change myself for their purposes.
And that's how you've approached college, and it's worked for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it was a huge help to me for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. What about you, Jake?
I was always super worried about my major. I always thought that like if I didn't have the right major, I wouldn't meet the right professors, and then I wouldn't get the right internships, and then I wouldn't get the right jobs after college. And it was like this whole spiraling effect of me thinking like I need to know this right now before I'm even going into college. Otherwise, like my entire life is ruined. And then I got into college and I was like, wow, I could literally have had any major and still gone into any job that I wanted. Like the big takeaway is like your major does not matter. Like you can be pre-med and still like study art history. Like it really doesn't matter. It's just about developing your like quantitative skills, your reading skills, your analytical skills. And like, that's all an employer is going to see. They're not going to care what classes you took. They want to see what you're doing. So
They want to see that you did it for joy and for yourself, not for a job or anyone else or because your parents told you to. You should be doing it because it's fun and you enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You don't need to have a specific major to go into any specific field. So I think the big takeaway is just like, don't be stressed out about it. Even going in undecided is like one of the best things you could possibly do, because then you can explore everything before you really decide.
Nice.
That's what I did.
Taking a gap year, I wish I took a gap year, honestly.
Couldn't recommend it more. Everyone should do it. Great time.
Why?
I cannot tell you, the person that I was at the start of my gap year and the person who I was going into UVM could not be two people who were more different. I was very shy, very closed off, didn't want to talk to anyone prior to. And I remember coming to UVM, and the first, like Lydia was saying, that first big gathering, I was just going out, talking to everyone, interacting with tons of people. And I just felt way more comfortable being myself, regardless of what everyone thought. And that was, as a result, totally a part of my gap year. If anyone has questions or what I did, feel free to reach out.
What'd you do? Just to give us like a quick headline.
So a lot of it was determined around travel. So I spent 2 months in Southeast Asia. I spent a month in Bali, and then I spent a month in Vietnam. And then I came back to Colorado for my competition season as a snowboarder. I worked as a gymnastics coach as well to make some more money. And then in the spring, I spent another 2 months in Europe and just kind of pinballed all the way through Europe.
Nice. Wow, you were busy, man. That was busy. Sam, I want to wrap with you, but I want to ask Jake one quick question. I lied because I said I had my last question. But as a tour guide, Jake, what's one question that you get that you're like, gosh, that's a great question? What's the question that everybody should be asking, or the question that you've been asked that really helped you to give a great answer?
What makes, honestly, why I picked UVM. That is, you need to ask your tour guide why they picked that school, because it will show you, it will just make it a lot more clear about like where their motives and intentions are coming from. I feel like if a lot of people say like financial reasons, like that makes a lot of sense. But then if you also get the other side of like, I came here because of like this, and this, you really can be like, wow, you can understand what people really like value and like why they came to the school in the first place, and see if that relates to you at all.
Yeah. And I think we got at the essence of that. Do you feel like we tapped into that?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then Sam, going back to finishing with you, the thing that you were a little concerned about, worried about, that really wasn't a big deal.
So in high school, I was just kind of worried about being involved with anything and everything, and that just really clogged up my schedule and didn't leave me a lot of time for a ton of things that I kind of wish I did. What I would say to myself is that be involved with it, but with the things that you are genuinely passionate about, because not only will you be doing things that you like, but you get so much more out of it if you have genuine interest in the subject, rather than doing debate club for the sake of, oh, this looks great on a college application. Just do what you want to do, and you will get what you put into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful message, and hopefully people will take that in and actually let what's in here be the compass and know they're going to get to great places. If anyone's interested in the University of Vermont, everybody here, again, I just want to reiterate, you're all welcome. You'll answer questions, correct? People have questions. You want to hear from people. You've included your info. You've opened yourself up. I'm so appreciative and so grateful to have you here. You're all so interesting. And I want to thank you all. And I look forward to continuing our conversation. And for those of you who are interested in learning more, you can check out these videos on YouTube. You can also visit Before College TV, where we'll have a profile of all the different panelists, one of the people who are in your corner. I'm Harlan Cohen. I'm grateful to be here, and I look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Thanks so much, and have the most incredible morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. All right. Thanks, everybody.